Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to queue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads, welcome to another episode of the Positive Head Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Beecham. Dalien the Alien sitting across from me, wearing his one-man Wolfpack shirt.
And my funky pants.
Oh, your funky pants.
Your
ladies' Ross pants.
That have become my festy pants.
Right, yes. Right.
And
that's the secret to good festival wear. Ladies section of Ross. There, it's out. Now every guy out there brave enough to to peruse the aisles in the women's section at Ross, yeah, that's where you go.
Oh man! On another note, we need a on-air sign that can light up when you start recording, because you're doubling down on your decision to just
hit
keep
me
on my toes.
Button. Yeah, well, we got to keep it interesting around here, so. You never know when I'm going to hit record, Dalien. Just start talking about something random.
Yeah, I'm ready. Bring it. Bring it.
Well, Positive Head listeners, friends, family, soul family, thank you for tuning in. I just wanted to start off by saying that. And I love you. I love you all. And you're amazing. I just wanted to start with that. Okay. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's see. Sorry, I've had too much coffee this morning. I'm in a little bit of a silly headspace, but it is true. I do love you guys, and I really, really support you. Continuing to connect and share and help us to spread the positivity, and we just continue to get such great feedback, and just it's such an awesome experience to sort of get to know some of you guys and connect with some of you through by the way, I haven't mentioned it in a while, the new Positive Head Facebook group. So if you go to search Positive Heads with an S, that's a group that we set up maybe a month ago to just bring together Positive Head listeners or anyone who's just wanting to be a part of a cool group of truth seekers. And so if you haven't joined, please find Positive Heads on Facebook and join the group and say hi. And groups are a little different than a regular page. I mean, of course, we have the positivehead.com Facebook page. That is not as interactive in the fact that you as a listener, it's not really designed for you to interact, everyone to interact. And if you post to our page, it comes in differently, and not everyone sees it and things like that. Whereas a group, it's meant to be more discussion based, I suppose. So we love to have you join that and to chime in and tell us what you're thinking, or if you want to talk about a particular topic on a show or get to know some of the other listeners. It's just a great place to do that. So. We ultimately have plans to really do some cool stuff on positivehead.com, off of Facebook, but it's a great kind of start to creating a group, which is our ultimate sort of goal and aim with positivehead.com, is to a whole revamp where it's very interactive and so forth. And so, yeah, stay tuned for that.
Indeed. Exciting things ahead for us.
Exciting indeed. Yeah, I had a friend of mine, good friend of mine, Katie, who's a listener. She might be hearing this. She's amazing actress. And it's funny because she reached out to me the other day like, hey, I really want to talk to you about, doing some production-based things with Positive Head. And she just had these great ideas, which were exactly in line what I've already been talking about and thinking about with, some other people, what we're going to turn Positive Head into. And so it's just so cool to see the synchronicity of how, people that you're meant to sort of connect with and collaborate with, how you get on that same sort of vibe. And it's just really fun to watch as characters sort of appear in your movie, so to speak, that are meant to mix it up with you and vice versa. And it's awesome. Life is beautiful. Certainly comes with plenty of challenges, ups, downs, lefts, rights, but just keep on smiling through it, keep on believing, and good things ultimately must come. They will come as long as your energy, your vibration is right. So moving right along, Dalien, what do we have in way of a positive story, a scientific story, a mysterious story? Hit me with any kind of story. I just love stories.
Well, today I have a story of near miraculous healing brought about by medicine. So that's a little bit different from what I normally report because, as you probably know, if you've tuned into our podcast, we're into all sorts of explorations of things that are a little more outside the mainstream, right? Including alternative medicines. But of course, we will report on anything, and I will discuss anything. You will talk about anything that seems noteworthy, right? And in this case, we're talking about a stem cell therapy to help reverse, or it was originally designed to halt the progress of MS or multiple sclerosis, right? And this treatment has proven to be spectacularly successful. It's essentially reversed severe MS for some people out there.
And that's a real issue for a lot of people.
Indeed. And so, this treatment is virtually miraculous. The results have been spectacular. There's an article on Vox that just came out earlier this week, and or I think it was late last week. And the title of it is, "This Isn't Hype. Canadian Doctors Just Reversed Severe MS Using Stem Cells." So it is an experimental treatment. It hasn't been approved yet for widespread use. But the article highlights the case of Jennifer Molson, who was 21 years old, had a dream of becoming a police officer and everything. She had a boyfriend. Eventually, they became married. But Jennifer, at only age 21, Brandon, the article explains, woke up one night or one morning with pins and needles in her left arm. Within a week, she couldn't move it at all.
Wow.
And the disease progressed very aggressively from there. She ended up, there's photographs featured in the article, and it shows her progression from when MS just begun really ravaging her health. She looked like a cancer patient, shaved head, quite frail and gaunt, right? And there's pictures of where she's ended up after the treatment, and she married her fiance and has gone on to lead more or less completely normal life. But her strand of MS that she was suffering from, is, the article explains, is one of the more aggressive kinds. And it progresses to where it just robs you of virtually all your motor function.
Wow.
So it's just brutal. And on the other hand, like I said, this experimental stem cell therapy, she was injected with this, she received a bone marrow transfusion that helped reverse the course of the disease. Doctors and researchers, of course, developed this approach to just try and help stem the progress of these severe forms of MS that are just brutal, because there's many different kinds, of course, right?
Right.
But and especially, to attack someone so young, 21 years old, I couldn't even fathom that, right? So it says here, now 15 years later, since the onset of her disease and the completion of this treatment, Molson is still skiing and kayaking on the weekends. She works as a research assistant at an Ottawa hospital.
Wow.
And one of the doctors says, we don't say this a lot, and, it may be a little premature, but she's essentially cured.
Wow.
Cured of severe MS. So yeah, this is remarkable because it's this is one of the diseases that, of course, has brought a lot of suffering to people out there just because of its nature, its progressive nature, its severity, and the condition to which it reduces sufferers, right? And the quote says here, Michael Rudnicki, director of the Regenerative Medicine Program and the Sprout Center for Stem Cell Research at Ottawa Health Research Institute, says, everyone is hesitant to use the C word, but these patients are cured.
Wow. Yeah, what's happening in science and healing and medicine is there's just so much on so many levels. It's almost hard to keep up with it all. But yeah, stem cells, sort of the ability to hack, things at such a root-based level and change, everything. Who knows? 100, I always say 100 years from now, we could look and feel better than we do now. So I suppose time will tell, but cool story. Thanks for sharing. And speaking of stories, I would like to go into another story. It's story time. This came up on my feed. A lot of these sites are doing really cool little videos, story-based videos or things like that online these days. And it's really cool. It's really something we can find the time. We'll probably do some of this sort of stuff as well. It's just a matter of time. But this one that popped up, I really liked. I love these sort of like Taoist stories or Zen stories or things like that because there's such great lessons in them. And of course, that's what this whole podcast is about. How do we look at information, take truths and realizations and look at them from every different angle possible so that, they can sort of set in further, deeper, and integrate into our sort of perspective and consciousness. So these stories are, of course, a great way to do that. This is a Zen story or Zen lesson, Two Monks and a Woman. And I'm just going to read this little piece. A senior monk and a junior monk were traveling together. At one point, they came to a river with a strong current. As the monks were preparing to cross the river, they saw a very young and beautiful woman also attempting to cross. The young woman asked if they could help her cross to the other side. The two monks glanced at one another because they had taken vows not to touch a woman. Then, without a word, the older monk picked up the woman, carried her across the river, placed her gently on the other side, and carried on his journey. The younger monk couldn't believe what had just happened. After rejoining his companion, he was speechless, and an hour passed without a word between them. 2 more hours passed, and then 3. Finally, the younger monk couldn't contain himself any longer and blurted out, "As monks, we're not permitted a woman. How could you then carry that woman on your shoulders?" The older monk looked at him and replied, "Brother, I set her down on the other side of the river. Why are you still carrying her?" Such a cool story, right? Everyone gets it, right? How often are we just carrying these bad stories, these judgments about right and wrong in our consciousness? It's like carrying, a giant chain. I think of what instantly pops to mind, my favorite Christmas movie, A Christmas Carol, where you have Jacob Marley carrying these giant chains around. And that's sort of like what it is when you're worried about something that should or shouldn't have been, and they did me wrong, and this isn't right, and that was right, and I deserve this, and why that, and that wasn't fair. Man, that's easy to get into. And 99.9% of the people who would look at any given situation where you feel slighted or justified in your judgment or rightness, maybe 99% of other humans would say, yeah, you're right. But at the end of the day, nothing is more important and valuable than your peace. Nothing is more important and valuable than learning to let it go. Let things flow. Let things become light, enlightened, right? Become light. Get light about everything that's happening to you. Stop carrying these weights, these worries. For me, one of the things that I really work on and have to work on diligently is my own sort of fieriness. I can get, if I feel hurt or slighted, I can definitely get As an ex used to always say, I'm a Leo, and she would always say, "Oh, the lion's roaring," and that's essentially what it's like. Like this energy comes up, and I'm just like so full of like, justification in what I'm saying and passion, and obviously that's something that is a really benefit in my life on a lot of ways. But this is when it's kind of coming out in maybe not as good of a way, and now take that passion or anger, you could even say, when something wrong has been done to you. And now it's one thing to let it even release and then move through you and let it go. At least that is healthy to some degree, right? Much healthier than carrying it around with you. So what I ask you all today listening, is there anything that you're carrying? Are you carrying, a story about how you were wronged? And is this a story that you're carrying that every time you think of it, it's like a knife stabbing in your gut? Well, guess what? Energetically, that's what you're doing to yourself. It's like drinking poison. Oh, here, let's have another shot of poison. What if that person that wronged you, that event that was so unfair that happened to you, what if that was all happening for you, not to you? What if it was happening so you could have this moment of understanding that it was meant to be, so that you can take this thing where you're very justified in your perspective and learn to let it go? Like just to completely drop it. That's the reason it happened, not for the surface level reason that you think it happened, right? And if you can get there, wow, talk about upgrading. And what happens when you upgrade yourself? When you upgrade your perspective, you expand your perspective. When you expand your perspective, you expand your life. You expand what can come through. What now do I have space to call forth? Well, it's like going from, 9th grade to 10th grade, or 10th grade to 11th grade, or, senior to college freshman. What happens as you upgrade? There's more freedom that opens up. There's more ability, more reach, more things can come in. And that's essentially what you do when you let these things go. You make room for more. You make room for graduation of sorts. So I'm sure there's some of you listening to this, and this is sinking in deeply. And congratulations, because you're where you're at, and it's sinking in because you're ready to move on to a next level of your being. Before we continue on with today's episode, for those of you interested in getting more fantastic fungi in your life, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about a friend of mine's brand new company, The Great Mother. Recently, I have been drinking The Great Mother's superfood mushroom coffee alternative called Ritual, as well as regularly taking their awesome Ally microdoses, and I am truly loving both. As you probably know, these days, many of the world's highest achievers and performers swear by microdosing. The problem is it can still be difficult to get a hold of magic mushrooms. That's why when my friend reached out, who lives in an area and country where legalization is not a problem like it was in the past, and said he'd be willing to offer microdoses to my listeners, I wanted to pass the word along. Ally microdoses are 100% organic. And in addition to a small amount of the magic active ingredient, they also contain functional mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and other brain boosters like bacopa. Ally is essentially a full spectrum nootropic. And of course, the coffee alternative Ritual doesn't contain magic mushrooms, but it has an array of the best organic functional mushrooms in the world. And, with functional mushrooms, it's really important to get them from the highest integrity sources. And whereas some other highly popular mushroom coffee alternatives on the market only contain a few varieties of functional mushrooms in their actual ingredients, Ritual has 7. Not only does it contain more types, it also contains 3 to 4 times the amount that the big brands have in each serving. And it tastes amazing. I actually like to have it on its own, as well as mixing it into my coffee sometimes as well. However, since this is definitely a unique offering, there are a few steps. First, just reach out and request to follow the private page, thegreat.mother on Instagram. Once you've been accepted to follow, just message what you're interested in getting, and someone will get back to you.
Yeah, I think that we have an opportunity here when we decided to come to this place, to this time-space reality, an opportunity to do a lot of what you said, Brandon. And I think that entails letting go of the usual patterns. We can, of course, because we have freedom and freedom of choice, we can choose to just act out the same old patterns And that's fine. There's no judgment. So you can just go after the things you want in your life, pursue them with any kind of, vigor and passion and grim determination that you want. And the people as well, pursue the relationships, try and have the people that you want in your life. But I think that with a little bit of awareness, you will see that whenever you have, or other people other people you've seen in the past, gone after things with that sort of grim determination and that sort of ego, hell-bent on getting, what it wants. And the opportunity I was referring to and what you alluded to is the opportunity to do something a little different.
Right.
So it's not like you have to do one thing or the other. There's no judgment. It's your choice. But get that you have an opportunity to start changing the story. So instead of playing it always the same way, when you go after things and you either get completely bent out of shape because you didn't get them, or you become despondent, it makes you more resolute, it makes you more aggressive, etc. It's all an opportunity to know who you are, find out who you are, see what you're made of, and experiences like not getting what you want, being thwarted in your path. They're very, revealing of character. Like, the thing I've said before, the way you treat those who have nothing to offer you is very indicative of your character, right? And the way in which you deal with failure, the way in which you deal with being thwarted, not getting the things you want, and the way in which you sort of recover from that, how you deal with that. It's just, again, an opportunity to be a little bit more aware, which is what I think this experience in general is all about. We have the choice to make any kind of decision we want, go after anything we want, and there's no judgment in how you do it. But get that you have an opportunity to start changing things. If you want things to be different, then we all have an opportunity to change it a little bit by, like you said, not being always so attached, not being so reflexively, hell-bent on getting what we all want. And if we don't get it, what does that say about us, right? How do we react?
And I think, absolutely. And I think, a lot of times we'll lash out. Like I said, for me, it's like I can just go from 0 to 10 pretty quickly. And the most important thing, though, is instead of beating myself up, and like the end goal, the ultimate aim is to not even go there in a negative way, right? But if you do, it's very important not to start beating yourself up and understand, hey, this is part of my process. Now I want to let it go very quickly, like, the monk talked about. Why are you still carrying it? So one thing I've gotten really good at is letting it go very quickly. I'm still working maybe on the piece of not getting worked up to begin with, right? But even that improvement, it's all about improvement. It's all about getting them a little bit better today than I was yesterday. And I love my humanness and the fact that I still have work to do. So I think that's a big, big pitfall for a lot of people when you start on this path of self-growth and it becomes like a big part of your focus. And of course, anyone listening to the show, you're on that path. Be very careful not to beat yourself up when you don't get this stuff exactly right, because that's how it goes. This is not an overnight kind of thing here that we're talking about. You're on a journey through eternity doing work. As Abraham talks about often, you're never going to get it done. So relax. Anytime you reach a new plateau, there's going to be a new one even further to expand into and become more of yourself and more of your divine self. And this is, thank goodness for that, because this is, source or God or a higher self never runs out of ways to continue to expand and to grow. And, Dalien, I can even think of you in your story, having been witness to it and a part of it, for many, many years. I can think back to you in the past, how often you could get bent or, agitated or judgmental about who or how someone behaved, in your story, right? And it would eat you up with anger or hostility or, agitation. And now you've come so far from those days, and this is going back a long time but yet, you still have those moments, but compared to what they were, it's like a drop in the bucket, right? And and how much more peace has that brought into your world, and how much more has it allowed for new experience?
Indeed. Yeah, I have some things that trigger me for sure, and I think we all have them. But yeah, certain aspects of social interactions, certain kinds of social interactions would cause me to become extremely anxious and extremely negative,
right?
For sure. And once I was able to disrupt that pattern, everything started to change.
That's a great way to put it. Like, how do I observe and disrupt, And if I don't, certainly don't beat myself up because I didn't disrupt, but sort of come back down from, I think of Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now talks about the pain body. That's essentially what it is. It's like this part of yourself that needs healing. That's, the ego self that is, needs healing, right? And it kind of comes over you like a light switch being flipped. And all of a sudden it's like, hold on, where did that, I can think of this woman that worked for me many years ago. The sweetest lady you ever met. Much older woman, just kind of looking for something to do, sort of in retirement. And she was just the softest, sweetest lady. And I remember seeing her all of a sudden one day. It was like the devil had appeared, and it was like, holy moly, it was like so much contrast, so it really gave me, some perspective on the pain body that I hadn't seen, so much contrast. I mean, imagine the most angelic, softest voice ever to all of a sudden this woman looking at you like, she could kill you with a stare, and so it's just what happened. Her pain body had completely taken her over, and this was a part of herself that was now driving. And when you can understand that, it's not, that's your ego self. That's just a part of yourself. What we fall into is we believe that's us fully. No, that's just an energy that's blocked. Your higher self, your ultimate self is completely at peace. It's a silent observer behind it all that needs nothing. It's been there watching since you were 5. It will be there when you're 95. It's that's your higher self. That's your God self, the unmoved mover, the one of the observer. And when you can understand this pain body that comes in and out, it's just a part of you that needs healing. And once you start bringing awareness to that, there's a difference between your higher self, your God self, let's say, and this pain body. You create contrast between these two parts, and now all of a sudden, sort of the cat's out of the bag. You're no longer falling for the belief that this is fully me, behaving and acting out this way.
Yeah, she forgot what I often forgot as well, and what all of us forget from time to time. How do you want to feel?
Yeah,
that is one of the things that Eckhart Tolle really helped me understand, because in light of any experience in life, whether you get what you want or especially if you don't, how do you want to feel? Okay, so there was this thing that you really desired very greatly, and you put a lot of effort and energy into it, and you didn't quite make it.
Yeah.
Okay, now, of course, you could follow the usual sort of set of reactions, but go back, wait, stop a second, take stock, ask yourself, how do you want to feel?
Yeah.
How do you want to feel in light of your victory and your defeat?
Yeah, exactly. It's all just a story that you get to write the script for. So the power is we are empowered, it's in our hands. Well, Dalien, getting down to it for today, out of imaginary time. Luckily, there's much more where that came from. So we will be back. We do have some music queued up. What do you got?
Nifty Earth, another artist that we've taken to liking here recently, and we brought you a track by them. At least one, maybe a couple so far. But here's another tasty cut from Nifty Earth. This one's called Intertwine, featuring Akila Ichampati. I apologize if I mispronounced that.
It was a good effort, for sure. Hope you all enjoy. Love, love, love.